where is India right now? What does it mean actually getting digitized? And what is it going to take for rural India and the urban India to come together on this? Is it really more hype, or there's actually stuff coming into play? And how important is it for all of us? I'm going to let the panelists talk about themselves briefly so that there's context to what we're going to talk about. I'll start with Ravi. We have two Ravis on here. So when you're addressing them, please very clearly point to each one, or you can just say both the Ravis. I'll let Ravi Naval start and introduce himself, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Am I audible? Audible? Yeah. Hi, career management consultant, worked in the space of strategy and innovation. Checked my job last year to pen a book called India Can. It's gone on to become a bestseller. It's 21 ideas, specific ideas for social innovation in India. I'm also mentoring startups in the social sector in the space of education and healthcare. That's me, yeah.
Nice, thank you.
Hi, can you hear me? Great. I'm Sandy Huda. I was a very bored student. I loved my school for sports, relationships, friendships, but I absolutely did not enjoy my experience inside the classroom. And that goes for most of the people that I know, at least. Over the past 4.5 years, I've traveled the world trying to see if anyone's been able to fix this problem of poor learning experience inside the classroom. And I discovered some incredible schools around the world that have changed the game completely, where children want to go to school, they love learning. And based on such best practices, of course, with our local context, we've created Vega Schools, the first school in the country that doesn't have any classrooms. And we're opening doors in April. It's a culmination of four years of effort. I'm pleased to be here.
Very nice. I want to learn more about that. Ashish, a lot of you must know, he's back on here again. He's like the furniture. He's been here non-stop. We'll let him talk about himself very briefly, and then we'll go to Ravi Hatke.
Serial entrepreneur, been involved with over 100 startups, but now I'm an aspiring writer. I'm doing a book on capitalizing India and how to evolve to the 21st century.
All right, Ravi.
Good afternoon. My name is Ravi Hatke, part of the business development team in CISCO, taking care of the Digital India initiative that the government of India is looking forward. In this role, do a lot of policy level and planning level interaction with the government at various levels, both at the center and the state. Overall, 15 years of sales experience in India, Europe, and now I'll say rural India. So I'm able to actually see the whole variety of things which are happening over. Pleased to be here.
All right, so this is a good part where I get to ask questions. Usually I'm the one answering them, so I always have to be on my toes here. It's not so. So I'm going to start with a question for the panelists, which is more around what Modi ji announced today. There was a very ambitious plan that has been set out, which is India, which is currently at 15% digital literacy. They're saying they're going to take India to 50% in 3 years. I want to know from the panelists if they believe this, because if you look at India in general, there are certain things that are very interesting. I'll start with my company, and I'll just talk briefly about what mobile's done for us. It's literally taken us from the brink of having our obituary written to actually being a fairly large company and sustainable company. So I believe mobile is a big driver here. It's connected rural India and urban India. But yet, oddly enough, in rural India, data is still very low. And with that, what we're seeing is rural India is only using data and mobile internet for entertainment, for music, for downloading movies. What does this mean? I mean, are we, when we talk about digital India, digital literacy, are we actually connecting the gaps? Is this just, for me, music download is not, the game changer. The game changer is when we literally have digital impact everything from healthcare to education to agriculture and every aspect of everything. So I want to start with Ravi. What do you think? Rural, urban, we're talking about digital literacy. Is it going to happen? And is it going to be actually, impacting different aspects. What do you think?
I think first thing I want to really acknowledge is the fact that there's really a digital divide between the urban and rural. Over the last 4 years, I have been, working very closely with the state governments, and I'll just, narrate an incident which happened around a couple of weeks back. I was talking to a very senior government functionary in a state, and she talked to me saying that, she has around 20,000 gram panchayats in the state. She has done everything to make those gram panchayats enabled on IT. She has trained the people in gram panchayat in terms of digital literacy. She has equipped the gram panchayats on ICT infrastructure. Everything is ready. The application is ready to disperse the services, the DBT services or all the other e-governance services. For last 1.5 years, she's not able to roll it out because there is no connectivity. Okay, so all of that is something which is staring at us. But what I really see as a positive side of the fact is that there is a huge intent, a positive intent about government, both at the policy as well as at the execution level, to do something better. We have a real opportunity in the sense, while yes, mobile revolution has happened successfully in the country, we are at the cusp of doing mobile internet revolution. And it's pretty clear, the statistics talks about itself. We are around 20% internet penetrated in the country. Out of the 20%, the rural is less than 20%. So that's a huge opportunity that we have to do. Yes, the government has to put in the right policies, and I think the biggest thing why it can happen is the fact that government has to intend to roll the broadband networks. The moment it really comes over, I think that is going to create a huge ecosystem play, which is going to make the services really sustainably delivered to all the citizens that we're talking about. So yes, I'm pretty bullish. It's really possible. Some of the policy things and some of the right executions can, for us, surely take this journey the next 3 to 5 years.
Ravi, Naval, I'll let you weigh in on this too, because you're in the, you know about feedback and just getting how this is implemented.
Yeah, just one thought before I get onto the feedback track. I think the computer is a very formidable device for a majority of Indians, but the mobile is not. For a lot of Indians, to get onto the smartphone bandwagon has been relatively very easy. And that possibly is a guidance that we, as a nation, we should start thinking mobile first. And if that were the case, then maybe this target of bridging the rural urban digital divide would not be so challenging. So once policymakers and organizations start driving the mobile agenda, even before they start driving the computer-based technology agenda in digitization, possibly that challenge would be overcome in the short span of time that the Prime Minister sets for us. Besides that, from my travels in India for the book and for the research, what I gathered was people are seeing mobile as a potent tool for voicing their likes or dislikes with both governance and with institutions that they seem to work with. And interestingly, mobile has become also a very potent tool to collect and assess and measure impact. So say, for example, a public distribution system. Now, if you could ask the recipient, the final receiver of the PDS, goods, that have you received the goods on time, a yes or no? Have you received a good quality, a bag of rice, yes or no? It changes the entire game.
Yeah, give a missed call.
Yeah.
Even the missed call, I love
Absolutely.
that aspect.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
And you can work with IVR, missed calls. You can work with telecallers who reach out to these people through mobile. So we need to differentiate between digital as perceived in a computer system versus digital as perceived on a mobile platform. Because mobile is a different beast. It's a more acceptable beast. It's a more palatable beast for majority of the Indians.
Do you want to weigh in on that, Ashish?
Why don't we wait for Sandeep?
All right.
I'm the furniture.
I'm going to pose a question. I'm going to bring a question up around education. So there's this big thing about, India and the fact that a lot of, basically 80% of our population is under 35. So there's a huge mass of population that needs to be educated, and we clearly don't have the infrastructure to do so. How do you think mobile and digitization is going to be the game changer for that and facilitate that? And what are your thoughts in general around education and mobile, and how's that going to be the break? Because I was on a jury for something, and I've been seeing very cool stuff around education on mobile. I just think it's fascinating, the kind of stuff that's happening around there.
Yeah, I think we're living in very exciting times. If many years ago, the Cray supercomputer could not be imported to India. There were US export restrictions. Today, the mobile phones that we have in our hand, we hold in our hands, are far more powerful than the Cray computer. So that's huge. The second piece is that it's not just about literacy. I think all the dialogue that we hear in this country about literacy is about how many more schools can we open or universities can we open. Just a few days ago, I was reading that one of the largest states in the country had released jobs, thousands of jobs, and the jobs were for the post of a sweeper. And almost 30% of the applicants for those jobs were MBA students and engineers. So it's not really, it's not just about what you know or what you are being taught and literacy. It's really about developing higher order skills, developing entrepreneurial skills. And I think in that sense, the mobile phone unleashes incredible opportunities. Today, the mobile phone that we have in our hand has more knowledge than the largest libraries in the world. So we have all the content, we have access to content. What we need really is an incredible faculty. Now faculty could be any kind of faculty. They could be grandfathers or grandmothers who say, okay, we're going to take this in our hands and make sure that we use this incredible power that we have in the device to educate children. It could be teachers across the country who could be retrained to stop serving as deliverers of content, but to start becoming facilitators of how you can or what you can do with that content. So I think that the opportunities are tremendous, and if we can create a large army of incredible facilitators, I think we can very quickly solve this problem.
Very good. So one of the perspectives that we were going to have on the panel, and which was the e-commerce perspective, I'm going to let Ashish weigh in on that, because you've invested in several startups, so you're kind of the guiding force. You're the one guiding them on that. E-commerce, a lot of the companies today talk about the fact that they are doing. Suddenly it went from 2011, when nobody was talking about mobile, to now everybody just talking about app downloads and mobile and transactions on mobile. Do you believe that there are actually people in tier 3 towns and rural India that are actually transacting online? There's a lot of money that's being put behind this, and just a lot of the e-commerce companies are doing that. Do you actually believe there's some method to this madness of doing this? I mean, they're educating the user, but do you actually think that there's momentum there in terms of getting people to transact online?
Let me answer it differently. And I'll go back to 1999. In the US, the web's just come out, people like Amazon, all these guys are out, there's early adopters. And you now come to 2015, right? How much did I use Amazon in the first 7 or 8 years? Or anything like Amazon, I just use it as an example, or eBay. eBay was selling Beanie Babies. Today, I would say for myself, my wife maybe it's 50 or 60%. For me, it's 90+%. I will shop online. 90% of my governance, if possible, I will do online. I've become used to it. It's something I do. The more remote I get, the more I want to use it, because I'm getting access to the things I may not get in my small town, village, or suburb where I live, whereas in New York City, I can walk to that store. But now everything is available to me 24 hours out, no matter how hard it is to find. So going to that point, if you live in a secondary town, or a tertiary town or a village, suddenly you will have access to the things that are only available in large towns. So I absolutely believe there's going to be a revolution. Does it happen a year from now, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years? I don't think it's longer than 5 years away, but it's probably 2 to 3 years away. Because you have to use certain things first. And the first thing that was ever used on the web was pornography, right? We went from pornography to commerce, right? In the Indian context, it might be movies.
That is the largest data usage in India.
As well. So it is anywhere in the world, right? But you have to start there. You learn to use. But I think there's a fundamental problem right now that you need to solve, which is, where is the infrastructure? Now, this is not a problem that is difficult to solve. If you looked at it, there's enough bandwidth available and airwaves. All you have to do is put up or aggregate 100 balloons up at 20, 30,000 feet, and you have the entire country covered, right? It is not a novel idea, it's a simple idea, it's not going to cost a whole bunch of money. But the problem is, every time we take policy decisions here, we want to go through the 20th century to get here, right? You must lay fiber. Why? We had to lay it in the 20th century. Today, it makes no sense to lay fiber, right? I can get you 30 gigabits on high-speed bursts on 4G LTE in the US. I do get it, right? If I actually did what I'm saying and we put it up, the balloons up, and they were replaceable, you could get up to 100 gigs, right? You have your mobile. So let's solve the infrastructure problem. Let's be innovative about it. Second comes the usage, right? One is entertainment, second is pain. If you actually started linking everyone's Aadhaar card to their mobile and started sending the subsidy to the mobile and then connecting their bank accounts, you solve the pain. That person has to walk to the district from the village, or from the district to the center, whatever it is. Let's get rid of that, right? Pain leads to, then you get e-commerce, right? He can buy his seeds, he can buy other things. So let me pause there, and then you get to things like healthcare, right? Monitoring of diabetes, monitoring of your heart condition. And all of this can be remotely managed, and alerts can be sent to your doctor, and they can send you alerts saying what's happening. So I'll go back to being furniture.
Oh my God, we're going to keep hearing about that during the panel. Ravi, do you agree that putting up 30 balloons or 50 balloons is going to solve the infrastructure problem that we have? And what parts of the digital economy do you think can actually come together? Healthcare, education, what do you actually believe can or need to come together in India to get us to the point where, a lot of the countries are right now, even South Africa, if you look at it, they're solving the healthcare problem. We were talking about this briefly outside. India has about 25% of, the burden of tuberculosis. And we could have solved that. We can solve that digitally. But unfortunately, that's not the case right now. Do you believe that we can do that? We can get to that point? And what parts of this can come together?
Sure. So let me, take a jab at it one by one. So whether it is balloon or a fiber, I think all of us are looking for a clean pipe available to us, okay? So we leave it to the technocrats and the policy decision makers. As for them, what will be the most, more economical, faster mechanism to reach to the, the masses, okay? And, technology is something, it may be a balloon today, or it could be, 4G or towers and wireless or fiber or a mixture of that. My personal belief is that in a country like India, which is more like country of countries, and we have a fairly variable terrain, it needs to be a hybrid solution. We can't run the fiber across. We can't have balloons all across. Okay? So it needs to have a hybrid approach, and it's doable. Okay? Coming to the second part of the question, yes, I think there's a tremendous opportunity in all the areas that you talked about. It's healthcare, it's education, it's skills development. And that's a huge area of focus that we see, happening. I'll just give an example to you. Sometime back, we were talking to a principal secretary of horticulture in Karnataka, and he asked us to solve a business problem. The problem that he was having was, he had a bunch of agriculturals who are actually producing flowers and fruits in remote areas of Karnataka. They need to get the right price of their produce. Okay? Currently what is happening is there is a bunch of guys who will come physically where the produce has happened. They will look at the quality and what all is there, put up a price, and go away. And then they will aggregate, put up a margin, and they will sell it across, and the margin is getting added up and all that. So the problem statement given to us was, accept the sense part, leave away the sense part. Can the technology help the farmer or the producer to put all the produce and make it available online for people to auction it? Okay? Leave about the transport problem. That is where the state or some other mechanism will come into picture. Okay? So that's the amount of thinking which the rural India is also looking at. Take the case of education. A couple of years back, we did a CSR activity regarding, why don't we, incorporate this principle of e-learning or a tele-education in a rural area. And what we tried to do differently was try to make it two-way interactive at multi-points. Okay, instead of a point-to-point, make it multi-point, because typically what used to happen is we used to have an instructor, a specialized instructor at one location, but we have multiple schools, coming into a single forum. Okay. We tried to do that with, a couple of states, and some of these locations are pretty remote. What hit us back very, very fast was, while we started that as a CSR activity, and we can do it till a point of time, when we wanted to wrap it up, the government didn't allow us to wrap it up. They said it has gone so successful over there, they wanted us now to do the second phase. They're saying that while you would have given the, the sessions in a particular language, I want you to convert that into local vernacular, store the content over a digital cloud, and let it remain over there. I think that sort of interest is really happening, and it's very real. So yes, the opportunity is very much there. And I think the basic fundamental is if we have the infrastructure in place, all these opportunities will balloon up, surely.
Nice. Also an interesting point Ravi just brought up. Vernacular, localization. India has several countries, within one. How do you think education and just digital, but with so many languages, is going to, how does it work? I mean, there is a challenge there for us, which is very different. If you're not rolling everything out in English, you're looking at mobile, but you're looking at several languages that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
Sandeep?
yeah, I think language is certainly a big challenge for India. But if Google can automatically translate English to French, I'm curious why that should be so hard to do with other Indian languages. I think the solution for India is out there, and in my opinion, I think Sugata Mitra's concept of self-organized learning environments, where for which he won the TED Prize a couple of years ago, I think is a great way forward. What you need to do, as was rightly said, you need to provide connectivity. Again, I mean, get rid of all the furniture in the classroom, sell the furniture, just get internet connectivity there. And get a good facilitator, train one facilitator per village who could use these or create these self-organized learning environments. So you have your mobile device / computer / tablet, you have connectivity, you have a great facilitator, and lo and behold, you have almost equivalent of the greatest educational institution anywhere in the world at your fingertips. So I think the solution is there.
And just to add, while we definitely will see some movement around the languages, the vernacular bit, and those are pieces they're already work in progress. What I think is the next common language template that's going to evolve is going to be around gamification. Once you're able to gamify, a lot of these challenges around dissemination of information and also closed looping of information would get fixed. So gamification, perhaps, while we make the journey between the indigenous languages and all the 23 languages in the country, while we cover those, at the same time, gamification would provide us the reach, that is required immediately. And that could be a potential tool. Besides that, when it comes to education, if you look at accessibility, productivity, and quality, at the moment, and not only education, even in other dimensions, right, of the economy, right now, digitization and the digital wave is only focused on the two prongs of productivity and accessibility. Once the discussion moves to quality, we would actually go beyond disintermediation and we'll start talking about innovation in this space. And that's when essentially we would see, a thrust or a wave that, that would ensure that, even the outreaches or the peripheral areas to our economy, to our society, those would be brought into the centerfold. So two things, gamification and moving to quality eventually for innovation.
Okay, very cool. I'm going to open it up to questions. I just briefly want, if there are any last comments that the panelists want to make. I think Ravi's point of infrastructure coming into play before the whole digital economy and this thing about it is interesting. Ashish, obviously, if we don't solve the pain, that's more important than entertainment, according to me, and I agree with you completely. Or what we do in terms of the education, but what is it after that also that gets enabled, and the gamification part of it. But if there's anything else that you, the panelists want to add.
You need 1,000 Sandeeps, and you're done. I'm serious.
Look at that. We need to just replicate you. That's
Yeah.
that's the solution.
And genet and genome, that's all we need to do, and we're done.